Hi guys, come on in. Today's a really important day for me, although it's just another day in the big scheme of things. Today's the day that my book comes out. It's out, you guys. It's out in the world. Grab your copy. It's out. It's out there. So go to any indie bookstore or Amazon or Kindle, Audible. I have it on audio as well, and many people are already downloading it and listening to it on their walks and in their exercise. So grab your copy. This book is out in the world today. I hope you get your copy at radicalawakening.com. So can't wait to hear your reviews. Post them on Amazon. Tell us how you felt about the book, what moved you about the book, and how it helped you grow. So I'm going to read some parts of the book today to help us understand a little bit about how to transform, how to change. So Gunila says, loved your podcast with Jay Shetty. Catherine got mine. She says she got hers today via Kindle. RD says the audio is great. Rachel's getting the audio version. Yeah, get the audio version. Lisa says already in tears. But Badass Broad says, I have the audio, going to pick up the hardcover. Oh, Colorand Cut by Sandra said she already bought it. Oh, thank you. I'm so happy. Beautiful Stillness book arrived today. Can't wait to start reading it. Go grab your book at radicalawakening.com. Crushing War says her book arrived today. I'm so happy it's out in the world. You can start reading it and start your journey and start deconstructing, start seeing what makes sense, and leave a review on Amazon. You know that's so important. And share with your friends. So happy you're here with me. It's such an important day for me. This book out. So go to www.radicalawakening.com and either grab the book or grab the course. I'm doing a course starting Sunday. It's my only course for 2021. And we go deep in this course for 10 days. So the course starts on Sunday. It is on Amazon. It's in indie bookstores, at least in the US. And I believe it's out in the UK as well. So grab your copy. It's out today. Okay, so let's... I'm going to read you a portion that talks about why it is so hard to go through the tunnel and to go through that in-between process of what was and what isn't yet. That's the hard part. That's why we don't change, because to go through that process of transformation is so difficult. So on page 81, I call a section Entering the Birth Canal. Lara, you're already 200 pages in. Wow, that's really intense. So entering the birth canal is really difficult because that's where you really have to rebirth a new self. So the first part that's hard is to let go the old self. And then what's hard on top of that is to birth the new self. And that's really difficult to do. Oh my goodness, somebody's at my door. I gotta come back. Oh. My goodness. Oh, damn. It's the delivery guy. Here, I was just doing an Instagram live. Here. And I just thought about these are all the addresses and these are all the same. Thank you, soon. Oh my goodness, I'm back. Just when I was doing the live, my bell rings and I had to give off all these books. So I'm back. Okay. So entering the birth canal is really difficult, and that's why we don't change. So a lot of my book is about what to do in the birth canal, what to do when you have decided to awaken, right? There are many books out there that talk about awakening. awaken or change, and they get you all motivated. But this book shows you how. So go grab your copy at radicalawakening.com. So let's read together about the how that is in this book. And of course, there are 384 pages. I'm only reading you a paragraph. So there's a section here called Entering the Birth Canal. For many of us, the final moments of waking up are terrifying. The final moments of waking up are terrifying. Terrifying. Because you don't want to see what you haven't seen for so long. It's so much easier to keep your head buried in the sand. For many of us, the final moments of waking up are terrifying, even petrifying, as we leave the old dimension of cowering fear, crippling dependence, and passive compliance. Okay, let's read that again. The final moments of waking up are terrifying, even petrifying, as we leave the old dimensions off, cowering fear, crippling dependence, and passive compliance. So we've been living in the old state of fear, passivity, and compliance. So how do we wake up to that old way of being, shed it, and now enter the birth canal to move forward? And the birth canal is dark, it's unknown, and it's without any guideposts because we've never been here before. As much as living in the old state was an ordeal, the idea of moving away is paralyzing. For no matter how treacherous our lives currently are, it's all we know. It is familiar, comfortable, predictable in its own mad way. Here we have built relationships, even married, raised children. We have lost ourselves a million times only to find ourselves and then to lose ourselves again. We have laughed and cried an ocean here. It may be the only home we know. Letting go of this life, despite its incredible challenges, is unfathomable to us, bringing its own traumas and new fears. So this is why we don't change, guys, because we're too attached to what was. Even if it sucks, even if you're living in fear, the reason why we don't leave the past is because it's too familiar. So for those of you who are here listening to me, we're talking about my new book. It's released today. Go to radicalawakening.com and grab your copy, or my course starting on Sunday, radicalawakening.com. So the reason why we don't change, guys, is because we are too attached to who we used to be. So all of you who are looking to change your life right now, you need to stop and ask, am I not changing because I'm really too attached to this old way, even though it's not amazing, even though I'm stagnant and paralyzed and afraid? I'm still attached. This is what happens to us. We get addicted to low vibrational ways of being. It becomes an addiction. Even if we know we're arguing all the time, we're exhausted all the time, we're not free, we can't breathe, we're choking in the job or in the relationship or in the career. Even though we know all this, we still stay. You know why we still stay? Because we get addicted to suffering. We get addicted to the low vibrational way of being. We get addicted to complaining, to whining, to exhaustion, to stress. So this is why we don't change. So whenever I want to change, but I don't change, it is because I know I'm addicted now to that low vibration. That fighting within myself, that constant stress is my addiction. Isn't that weird? Who would have thought it? Right? That's why people don't change their diets. even though they know it's unhealthy, even though they're putting on an unhealthy amount of weight, even though they're damaging their body, the reason they don't change is because in a way they've become addicted to being unhappy. We have become addicted to being unhappy. And unless we want our power, want our joy, want our true freedom, we won't change. So we're talking about my new book that came out today, A Radical Awakening. This is what this book will wake up in you. The power and the inspiration to change whatever you want to change in your life. This book is going to help you spark that and move forward. Geraldine says she got her copy today. Yay, Geraldine. Leave a review when you are ready. So as all the plans we made in our zombie-like, unawakened state begin to crumble before our eyes, what was once a predictable future now morphs into a long, lonesome tunnel. And you're like, holy cow, long tunnel. There was a period in my life, and I would say even now, when people began to ask me, what are you going to do, next year? And I would look at them and say, I truly cannot even pretend to know. No one ever knows, but we pretend to know. I went through years of not even pretending to know. And that is really a terrifying place because all of us wants to know our future. So Vikas asks, who reads the book in Audible? I do. I read it. I think it's 15 hours of my voice. I feel bad for all of you. On Audible. So grab your copy, A Radical Awakening. It just came out today. Get it for your sister, get it for your best friend, get it for yourself. And you will learn something about yourself that you wouldn't have known, all less than a meal. So you deserve to change your life and find a new way of looking at your process. It's all in here. This is not just a motivational book. This is a book that lays out step by step what you need to do. So grab it on Audible if you don't like reading anymore. We begin to realize, I'm talking about the process of change. We begin to realize we are dying to the old, the familiar, and the predictable. All our veils are being stripped away and our masks are being shredded. We might walk around for days wondering, how could we have spent decade after decade living that old life where we were spiritually mute, deaf, and blind? How could we have allowed ourselves to live in such a state? Every time I speak to women, especially women, who've changed, they often say to me, how did I live like that for 25 years? And then I explain that we live like that because we are more attached to our idea of how it should be. And we're just waiting for the idea to manifest. And we don't realize that actually in the here and now, things are not okay. So instead of accepting and looking and owning the here and now, we keep waiting for the fantasy to come out in the future. Fantasy isn't happening. And then one day we wake up. We're talking about my new book, A Radical Awakening. It just came out today. Grab your copy at aradicalawakening.com. Let me tell you, doing these sales is not easy, okay? If I'm making it look easy, I'm a good actress. I hate the sales part. I hate it. But I try to be authentically in the moment while I'm selling it. Because I know that this book is so important, it's easy to do. Okay. It scares us to confront the unknown. Yes, Muchabi, you're right. You become numb. You go through each day without even realizing how the day is progressing. Yes, I talk about that here. How you become numb. You become a zombie. I call it living in a fog. Like for years, decades. I don't know what we're waiting for, right? I don't know how many of you have been there. I have. And you're like, huh? And then one day, after a lot of work, the bubble bursts and the veils come off. And you're like, what? Once I was with a friend and she and I were walking in her neighborhood and she told me for 10 years, She didn't even know that there was a park right behind her house because she was so overwhelmed with her motherhood, with her life, that she completely missed the park right behind her house. It's like that. We miss the moment because we are waiting for the fantasy to come true. And in that waiting, we become passive zombies. Annie, you're in chapter 3. Wow, look at you. We're talking about a radical awakening. Go get your book at radicalawakening.com. So there is a 10-day course. You can explore it at the website, radicalawakening.com. Okay, so now it scares us to confront the unknown, okay? Yes, we know that, Dr. Shefali. Truth comes knocking, but we're too scared to answer the door. Yes, we are. Many of us just let it knock away till it becomes exhausted and leaves. Our entire life then becomes a stink. We fill our days with screen time, medications, and other distractions. These are preferable to opening the door of authenticity. Oh my goodness. Culture has women terrified of courting truth, let alone marrying it. Let me read this again. Sometimes my words trip me up too. I'm like, what the hell is this bloody English? Okay, because me trying to be all amazing in my language. Culture has women terrified of courting truth, let alone marrying it. We can't even freaking date truth, okay? We can't even go out on one date with truth because culture has us women terrified. So we can't even date truth. How are we going to marry truth, right? So movement into the birth canal of transformation inevitably brings regression as well as a whole lot of grief. How could it not? As one part of ourselves dies and our old skin is shed, it's natural to enter a state of mourning for what was. As we begin to speak our truth, we might begin to feel so good. So then once we begin to speak our truth, we begin to feel so good that to go back to deceiving ourselves feels repugnant. How can we go back now once we have had a taste of heaven? The only way is forward. Leaving the old means leaving all that came with it. Many who go through this tunnel think that they can take the old dynamics with them, but they quickly realize, nope, I cannot. We realize we need to adult up and make tough choices. We can no longer be children who fantasize about having it all. It is time for us to take the fork in the road. As we enter the process of rebirth, we mourn the familiarity and comforts our old life gave us. We might find ourselves clinging to who we were, even though our old life brought us pain. So this is it. And then I write, my guiding light was, am I being true to my authentic self? So when we go through this process of change, there is many yo-yos and seesaws back and forth because we get so attached to the old way of being. We get so attached to who we were that to change that is so scary. You have to make new friends where you are going. You have to speak differently. Your old ways simply won't work in the new dimension. So this is the reason why people don't want to go through the birth canal. But this is what we need to do in order to radically change our lives. Your life is in your driver's hands. It's yours. And we women have been raised to believe that our life is others. It took me years. It's still part of my conditioning that my life belongs to my intimate others. As soon as they need me, I drop everything. It's like an instinct, like I'm a puppet. And when I see other people who are more in their masculine energy, more men in particular, who don't have these strings, I'm just amazed. I'm like, wow, your neck is not being pulled by any string? where are your strings? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you don't see my strings? I have 10,000 puppet strings. Because we women are raised with these puppet strings. The reason why men can move on and be compartmentalized is because they don't have these puppet strings. And men are anyway more compartmentalized and masculine energy, so they can chop the puppet strings really fast. And that hurts us women because we're like, how are you so cold? How are you so compartmentalized? And they'll move on from the relationship like this because they gotta go get their needs met, and they're compartmentalized. I don't speak about all men, I'm just talking in general. But we women are raised to be enmeshed, to be interconnected, to be one, to be the nurturer. So for us to change our lives, if it messes the lives of those around us, is really traumatic because it's not what we think of ourselves. It's against who we think of ourselves. So putting ourselves first, talking about our needs, getting our desires met is such an alien concept for us women. And it all comes down to how we were conditioned. So we are talking about my book, A Radical Awakening. It just came out today, guys. So go grab your copy at aradicalawakening.com. Grab your copy. Go get it. Help your women in your life. This is a great gift to give them. And the reason I can always sell my stuff, I know this sounds a little bit audacious, is because I know that I'm giving you something of value. Really, I do. I do. I'm not selling you bullshit. This is life's work. This is hours of my own self-work. This is hours of my work with clients. It's 384 pages. If you take my course at aradicalawakening.com, you get 3 copies sent to you in the price of the course. The course starts on Sunday. It's my only course I'm doing. So it's going to be intense. Hundreds of you have already signed up. It's online. It's recorded. Everything gets sent to you for life at aradicalawakening.com. So go get your copy. It may change you. I'll be back later to talk more about the book. Bye, guys.